such magnificent creatures. It's a privilege to be this close.
The ranger kept screaming when he saw the lion's unusually large belly. The lioness lay unnaturally still beneath the ancient acacia tree, her sides rising and falling with labored breaths that immediately caught Ranger David Kamani's attention during his morning patrol of the Masai Mara's northern sector. What stopped him cold was not just her motionless posture, but the grotesque distension of her abdomen that had swollen to nearly twice the size of any pregnant lioness he had encountered in 15 years of wildlife conservation work. Her belly appeared so enlarged that it seemed to strain against her golden coat, creating an unnatural silhouette that spoke of medical crisis rather than healthy pregnancy. David parked his Land Rover at a respectful distance and observed the lioness through binoculars, his trained eyes cataloging details that painted an increasingly alarming picture. She was a mature female, probably 8 or 9 years old, whose normally sleek frame had been transformed by whatever condition was claiming her strength. Her breathing was shallow and rapid, suggesting distress, and her great head remained pressed to the red earth as if lifting it required more energy than she could spare. Most concerning was her complete lack of response to his vehicle's arrival. Healthy lions maintained awareness of human presence even when resting. The lioness's condition defied David's extensive experience with wildlife medical emergencies. He had witnessed pregnant females in various stages of gestation, had helped coordinate veterinary interventions for lions suffering from everything from infected wounds to parasitic infections, but nothing in his background had prepared him for the sight of an animal whose body appeared to be failing under the weight of whatever was growing within her. The distension was so severe that he wondered if she was suffering from a massive tumor, or perhaps a twisted intestine that was slowly killing her. David reached for his radio with hands that trembled slightly, understanding that time was critical if this magnificent predator was to have any chance of survival. His urgent calls for veterinary assistance crackled across the airways, connecting him to the Kenya Wildlife Service's Emergency Response Network and the handful of veterinarians qualified to treat large predators in the field. Each detail he reported, the lioness's size, her condition, her location coordinates, felt like pieces of a puzzle that might determine whether he was documenting a rescue or bearing witness to a slow death. The morning sun climbed higher above the savannah as David maintained his vigil, watching for any change in the lioness's condition while coordinating the arrival of Dr. Sarah Mathoni and her mobile veterinary unit. The great cat's breathing remained labored, and occasionally she would shift position slightly, as if trying to find relief from whatever internal pressure was causing her obvious distress. Her amber eyes, when they briefly opened, held the distant look of an animal whose body was fighting battles beyond her conscious control. "Hold on, beautiful girl," David whispered into his radio as he provided updates to the approaching veterinary team, his voice carrying years of respect for the creatures whose protection had become his life's work. The acacia's shadows shifted as the day progressed, but the lioness remained motionless beneath its protective canopy, her swollen form a testament to the fragility of life in even the most powerful of Africa's predators. Dr. Sarah Mathoni's arrival brought with it the organized efficiency of a veterinarian who had spent 20 years responding to wildlife emergencies across Kenya's most remote regions. Her mobile unit kicked up clouds of red dust as it approached the acacia tree where the lioness continued her struggle, and David felt a measure of relief at seeing the familiar green cross painted on the vehicle's side. The veterinary team moved with practiced calm as they unloaded sedation equipment and portable diagnostic tools, their movements deliberate but unhurried despite the obvious urgency of the situation. The initial examination revealed something unexpected that changed the entire dynamic of their emergency response. As Dr. Mathoni approached the lioness with her examination equipment, she immediately noticed the rhythmic contractions rippling across the great cat's distended abdomen. What David had interpreted as signs of medical distress were actually the powerful muscular waves of active labor, and the lioness's labored breathing matched perfectly with the timing of uterine contractions that were working to bring new life into the world. The portable ultrasound equipment revealed the truth that left the entire veterinary team staring at the small screen in amazement. Instead of the typical 2 or 3 cubs that comprised normal lion litters, the grainy images showed an unprecedented number of developing forms crowded within the lioness's womb. Dr. Mathoni counted carefully, then recounted, her experienced eyes unable to believe what the technology was revealing. 5 distinct heartbeats pulsed across the monitor, each representing a cub that had somehow survived the competitive environment of multiple gestation to reach full term. The implications of this discovery rippled through the small team of conservationists who had gathered around the laboring lioness. Multiple births beyond 3 cubs were extraordinarily rare in wild lion populations, occurring perhaps once in every several thousand pregnancies. The survival rate for large litters was typically poor, as mothers struggled to provide adequate nutrition and protection for more offspring than their bodies were designed to support. Yet here was a lioness whose body had somehow managed to sustain 5 cubs through the entire gestation period, bringing them to the threshold of birth against odds that defied normal reproductive statistics. Dr. Mathony's team quickly shifted their approach from emergency medical intervention to supportive care for what could become one of the most significant wildlife births documented in recent conservation history. They established a monitoring station at a safe distance from the lioness, using remote sensors to track her vital signs and the progress of her labor without causing additional stress. The lioness herself seemed to draw strength from their quiet presence, her amber eyes occasionally finding their location as if reassured by the knowledge that help was available if complications arose. The labor progressed through the afternoon with the irregular rhythm typical of large litters, each cub presenting unique challenges as the lioness's body worked to deliver offspring whose combined weight far exceeded normal parameters. Between contractions, she would rest her great head on the red earth, conserving energy for the monumental task ahead. Her breathing had stabilized into the deep, purposeful pattern of an animal whose body understood exactly what was required, even if the scale was beyond anything in her species' normal experience. "You're doing something extraordinary, Mama," Dr. Mathony whispered as she monitored the lioness's progress through another powerful contraction. The acacia tree stood sentinel above this unprecedented moment in the natural world, its ancient branches bearing witness to new life arriving in numbers that would forever change how conservationists understood the reproductive potential of Africa's great predators. The first cub arrived as evening light began to filter through the acacia's canopy, a perfectly formed male whose golden coat was already marked with the faint rosettes that would darken with age. The lioness immediately began the ancient ritual of cleaning her newborn, her rough tongue working methodically to clear airways and stimulate breathing while soft rumbling sounds emerged from deep in her chest. Within minutes, the second cub followed, then the third, each birth bringing gasps of amazement from the veterinary team who understood they were witnessing something that defied the normal boundaries of lion reproduction. The fourth and fifth cubs arrived in quick succession, as if the lioness's body had found its rhythm and was determined to complete this extraordinary delivery before exhaustion could complicate the process. Each newborn was remarkably healthy despite the crowded conditions they had endured in utero, their small bodies vigorous and responsive as their mother continued the essential work of welcoming them into the world. Dr. Mathony's monitoring equipment confirmed what their eyes could hardly believe. 5 healthy heartbeats, 5 sets of lungs drawing their first African air, 5 new lives that represented a genetic lottery won against astronomical odds. David found himself transformed by what he was witnessing. His earlier cries of alarm evolved into whispered expressions of wonder as he documented each phase of this miraculous birth. The same lioness whose grotesquely swollen belly had filled him with dread that morning was now demonstrating the incredible resilience of her species, her body having accomplished something that would be studied and celebrated in conservation circles for years to come. His radio reports to the Kenya Wildlife Service headquarters carried a reverence that reflected his understanding of the historical significance unfolding beneath the acacia tree. The lioness arranged her 5 cubs in a tight semicircle against her warm belly, her exhausted but alert eyes constantly scanning the surrounding savanna for potential threats to her vulnerable offspring. Each cub found its way to a feeding position with the determination typical of newborn predators, their tiny paws kneading against their mother's golden coat as they began the process of gaining strength for survival in one of Earth's most challenging environments. The mother's protective instincts had intensified with the arrival of each additional cub, creating a fortress of maternal devotion around this unprecedented family. 5 miracles, David whispered as the sunset painted the grassland gold around the remarkable family. The evening wind carried the scent of rain across the Masai Mara as 5 tiny heartbeats pulsed against their mother's warmth, each one a testament to nature's endless capacity for surprise and hope.